Welcome students, this is Mr. Ashcraft and this is your Skills Review number 1 homework help video. The purpose of these homework help videos are in case you're home and you get stuck on any of the problems. I'll typically work about half of the problems here on this video. If you do the problems that are on the video and bring it to class the next day, you'll get a 50%. If you do the problems that are on here and then attempt the rest of the problems, and by attempt I mean you work through it and you have an answer for it, then you would get a 100. So you need to make sure that you do as much of it as possible so that you can keep your grade up. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. This is going to show you kind of how we solve some of these problems in high school. I know you guys have done a lot of these problems in middle school, and so it might be slightly different than what you heard back in middle school, but for some of it may be the same. I chose to work one problem out of each section on this, and a few of these are already worked in the beginning here. This is a combining like terms problem. So when we combine like terms, in high school we like to use circles, underline things, use squares, boxes around stuff to identify things that have the same last name. And so when we're looking at last names, we're looking at the letter attached to it. So this 7D and this negative 5D, those guys have the same last name. So if I were typing that in my calculator, I would leave off the D and just do 7 minus 5, and that's 2, so that becomes 2D. And then this doesn't have anybody to combine with because there's nobody else with a last name of no name. See how that 9 has nothing beside it? And so this becomes your answer, 2D plus 9. You can't combine those guys because they're not in the same family. All right, let's take a look at the next one. All right, the next one is an example of the distributive property. We are distributing this 8 to everybody inside of the parentheses. And so if you think about this, this 8 is like the teacher. Okay? And y plus 3, this stuff are like the students. The parentheses represent the walls of our classroom. So when I hand out papers, I'm going to hand out one paper to everybody in class. Right? So an arrow goes to there, and an arrow goes to there. Distributive property is all about multiplication. So 8 times y is 8y, 8 times 3 is 24, and those are not like terms, so I cannot combine them. So it's 8y plus 24. Alright, this next one, I like to approach it from the distributive property as well. When you don't see a number out in front of there, you put a 1. You don't see a number out in front of there, you put a 1. So I'm distributing a 1 to that and to that. And remember, it's multiplication. So 1 times 9 is 9z, plus 1 times 12 is 12. Over here, you've got to be careful because this is a negative 1 that's being distributed. And so negative 1 times 6 is negative 6z, and negative 1 times 8 is negative 8. Now look at my like terms. I have a couple of z's here. So I have a 9z and a negative 6z. So my calculator, oops, I would do 9 minus 6, and that's 3, so that would be 3z. And then I have plus 12 and a minus 8, so I would do 12, positive 12 minus 8, and that is a positive 4, so plus 4. Those are unlike terms, so I am done. This section, it only wants you to write the equation. It does not ask you where to solve them. So sum means that we are going to add 5. And we're going to add that to 4 times a number. The number represents x, so 4 times x would be 4x. And remember, we're supposed to do in the sum of that. We like to put the variable part first. Is in mathematics means equals, so equals negative 11. Alright, and so that is an equation that we could solve, and we're going to solve some of those like that in just a second. Alright, here's one that we can solve. So these are some of the things that we do at the high school. We draw a line down, and this line divides the left side from the right side. Whatever we do on the left side, we have to do on the right side. That's to keep things equal. Okay? We also like to put a box around the letter that we're solving for, and that box kind of tells you to leave this alone. Okay, and when I say leave alone, that means you're just going to leave it alone until the end of the problem. Alright, well if I'm going to leave that alone, the only thing I can do is do something with this minus 14. To get rid of a minus 14, we do a plus 14 to both sides, plus 14 to both sides. On this side, negative 14 plus 14 is 0, so those go away, and I'm left with 18x. Bring down my equal sign. Negative 14 plus 14 is 0. I can't make it go away because I have to have something on that side. Here's my box again. Now I have to do something with the box because that's all I'm left with. This is 18 times x, so we undo multiplication by division. So we divide both sides by 18, 18s cancel out, and I get x equals $0 divided by 18 friends means everybody gets $0. So 0 is the answer. Okay. Another phrase we use right here is when it's beside it, we divide it. So see how 18 and x are beside each other? Beside and divide rhyme, so that helps us remember that anytime we see them beside it, it's time to divide it. Alright, so here's what we're solving for. Draw our line down, left side, right side. I'm going to leave the box alone, so to get rid of a minus 10, I plus 10 to both sides. Whatever I do to the left, I do to the right. Those go away. X over 7 equals negative 8 and 10. Negative 8 plus 10 is the same as 10 minus 8, and that's positive 2. When you see opposite signs, that means you subtract them and take the sign of the bigger, so it's a positive 2. Here it's not beside it, divide it, because this is underneath it. So this is 7 is already dividing. So to undo division, we multiply by 7. Whatever I do on the left, I have to do on the right. So the 7's cancel, and x equals 2 times 7 is 14. Okay? All right, a lot going on this one. If you do not like that on that side, you can move it over to this side, equal 60 like that, and then you can just make it go away like that. All right? You're just going to move everything that you see over there. This is a distributive property problem. This is being distributed here and here. So that's where we start. 4 times the negative 6 is negative 24r. 4 times the negative 3 is negative 12 equals 60. Draw my line down. Box. I get rid of a minus 12 by doing a plus 12. Plus 12, 12's cancel. Bring down my negative 24r equals 60 plus 12 is 72. When it's beside it, I divide it, so I'm going to divide both sides by negative 24. And that becomes r because those cancel out. It's a positive by negative, so I know it's going to be negative. I just got to figure out what is 72 divided by 24. It won't go into 7 at all. I think it goes in here 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. Carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. So the answer is negative 3. Okay. These videos will all be roughly the same. They'll be about 10 to 15 minutes long, and they'll work through about half of the problems or so that you see on your assignment.